Hello, my name is Jackblade and welcome to my channel. Welcome back to my channel. We are today back in the testing world. What are we doing? We are going to be looking at some quality of life tips specifically for new players. Most of the seasoned players tend to already have all of this set up in one way or another, and they have their preferences. Some of the seasoned player might find this interesting as a reminder, or maybe there's something they've missed with it, or something that they can complete it with. So, enough of burying the lead. We're looking at blueprints today, and we're specifically looking at blueprints that are good for your quality of life, which is to say, it is supposed to take away small, like nitty-gritty busy work of your like gameplay experience, so that you don't have to bother like running like kilometers of belts, but each belt section is just like 10 meters long. Like, actually, that is what we're going for today. So let's jump on over and see what we have. Here's number one. We're looking at the said fighting fix. So if you can see here, if we go real close, you can see that this left one, the center foundation, is like tiny bit higher than the base foundation here, and the reason is because of this road barrier over here. So what I do is literally place out, like if I do this, and you guys go bye-bye, I will show you exactly how this blueprint is made, because it is a very specific process here, where I take a small concrete pillar. Like, first I place this foundation, right? Normally what I do is I place the center one, like this, and then I place the second one, like so. And then I take the pillar, make sure that it is center and just at the edge, remove that, go back in. The road barrier you unlock in the awesome shop, and it should be your first unlock, like literally your first unlock to be able to do this. And this is such a powerful tool that it should literally be your first unlock. So okay, when I move down, there's gonna be like a lock, like can't go further down than this. That is the point where it's like literally level with the foundation that we are on. So if I go up just a little bit constantly, there we go. You can see that it raised a little bit. Just get it to raise just a millimeter, like that. Place it, and then you take a new foundation and you snap it. You aim at the road barrier, not the foundation, the road barrier, and then you place it. And what you get now is a slightly raised what's it called, foundation. That means that if I place something just in like so, as you can see, this one is now prioritized. There cannot be any said fighting, and you have fixed your said fighting problems. You won't have any of this awkwardness, like so, where they are, okay, just because I'm doing this now it works, but when these two flicker and they're fighting for which foundation should, like which texture should be on top and show first. Like, I bet I can show you quickly over here somewhere. Where is it? I've done it somewhere. Yeah, here. This is technically said fighting. This effect, to avoid it, this is how like one way of doing it. Then what you can do, like, you just save one foundation like this. Then what you do is you take this blueprint, and if you know you're going to like overlap foundations into a different level, you make sure that one of the levels that you are, like the one that you actually want to show, that one you place on top. And this is especially important with foundations that are what's it called? different materials. So if you look in the customizer here, you have a bunch of different materials. So if I go for the foundations here, you can see that if I grab one of these and I go like this, now that that is actually prioritized, that looks good. But if I don't, we risk getting a lot of this said fighting. Now for some reason I'm not getting it, and it's like weird. But for those who've played a little bit, you guys know that this said fighting, it pops up everywhere you don't want it to. So yeah, this is one blueprint that is very easy, very fast to make. And remember, something that I'm doing for all of the blueprints we will look at is I'm thinking for now, I don't know if they're gonna switch where it is unlocked, but for now it's unlocked in tier 4, and it needs steel beams to be built. So I am taking that into account when I am like designing these blueprints. Like, when do you actually unlock your blueprint designer, and what do you normally have access to? So that's what I'm also keeping in mind here. So it's not gonna be Mark 1 belts. It's not gonna be like just at the start of the game. Some people want to start the game with blueprint designer unlocked and blueprints unlocked, but if you don't, these blueprints are gonna be perfect, and they're gonna be perfect either way. But yeah. And something to keep in mind as well, you can transfer blueprints from one save to the next. There's like 50 videos out there that can show you how to do that in 2 minutes. So I'm not going to necessarily show that, but you can very easily grab your blueprints from one save and copy them into a different save file. So let's continue on to the next blueprint. So this is the said fighting fix, and this is a must-have for anyone who cares. Here we go. This is blueprint number 2. So what we're looking at now is a platform by 4x4 foundations. So when we're building large foundations and stuff to be able to build out our platforms, normally, like, I have a mod that's called Infinite Zoop that lets me do this, but without that, in vanilla, what you have is a maximum of placing this. You can't like place on, you can't go out 10 and then move over 10, so you can't do this. Like it won't let you do this thing. It will only let you drag one line. And when you do that, you place a maximum of 10 foundations. So if you want to make a big platform quickly, my advice is use this. Number 1, like, you place 16 foundations in a click instead of 10, which means that you are more than 50% faster in your foundation placement than you are with the Zoop. So having one of these is really, really good if you want to cover big areas with foundations very quickly. So with that, you said you also have another like very, very, very good benefit when it comes to this versus the Zoop, and that is when you want to remove them. Because when you place a blueprint, let's see, do I have? Probably not. When you place one of these, I haven't actually saved this one. Let's just let's go in here and just save this so I can show you guys. When you place a blueprint here, it's the number 2 here. There, you can go into the dismantling mode, and if you press R, you change dismantling mode, and you can just one click, done, your entire blueprint is gone. Which means that you're even also faster in removing the foundations if you want to remove sections. You also have guaranteed even placement. It's always going to be a 4x4 placement, which means that if you place 3 out, you know it's going to be 12. If you place 4 out, you know it's going to be 16 foundations long. Like, it's always going to be a standard measurement for you when placing this stuff. So that's why having this in your arsenal, and if you want to be real like convenient about it, make one for each material. like that you have unlocked. Make a platform for each material that you have unlocked. Or if you want to work with patterns, like if you know that you always have a like mid-section road thing that you want to have, and you know that you always make that out of asphalt, then go ahead and place that in beforehand, so that when you are planning where to place your center sections, you can just place this in and just make a line of these, and then you can place the concrete only ones on the sides of this to make your like where you place your machine sections and stuff like that. So yeah, this is basically the platform blueprint, and I think everyone should have that. Like combined with that, you can make a bunch of fun stuff with this. So really go for it. So let's move on to the third blueprint. Here we are, third blueprint. And what we're looking at here is a 45-degree bend. And the reason why I have put this in here, or this at all, is because if you're making a lot of these, it's very nice to have them and be able to just place them like so. And my recommendation is, if you're using them to build vertically as well, that you don't use the 1 meter foundations, use the 4 meter foundations instead, and make the same blueprint pretty much like so. And oh, you can see you got the set fighting here, so if you want to, you can actually fix that using the set fighting fix. Just replace this top one with the blueprint that you're looking at. So yeah, this is for 45-degree bends, and they are very easy to make. You just use the road barrier once again. Like if you don't unlock this and you're trying to like build something that isn't just a big square, then yeah, no. So the way that you do this is you place a road barrier, you find the corner, like if I can remove this here, and you basically go here to the absolute corner of the foundation, and then you place in not one, you place in two, and make sure that they're aligned like this. It's snapping to the other road barrier, so you have two of them, right? And what I do now, I'm just going to remove these, is I aim and I snap it here. I go there and I soup out 1, 2. If I try to go to the third, it's going to go over the edge, so I stop here. Alright, and this is like a 45-degree bend start. And end if you like, depending on how you're doing it. And that is what we get to with the next blueprint, which I'm going to include in this this cut as well, which is over here. And the fourth blueprint we're looking at is the mirrored version of this. Anytime you're making a curve or a bend that is not a straight 90-degree bend, they are actually doing this 45-degree version or any version of that. Then you always want to have the mirrored version, because when you place this down and you try to line that up with the end foundation, like if you try to place it here, like now, because I am on the blueprint designer, I can line these up so that they end perfectly. But if you do this, and they don't even do line up perfectly, because when you are making this and you want to end it, you need to have space like so that you can boom, do the same thing on the other end, like so. And then you go, oh, it's too close, okay. Then what's happening here is basically you need to have a like you can see that now it's relatively fixed. Like there is this little gap there, but it's not noticeable unless you like get really close to it. But and because we are looking at it right now. But basically, you need to do that to actually get that perfect lineup. And an easy way of doing that, especially when you have longer sections, is by having the mirrored version, because then you can take this and rotate so that this end is down, like poking down here, and then going up instead. And then you basically just do this like overlapping foundation thing in the middle. If you're having trouble with set fighting, just literally like attach one of the blueprints to this, and you will fix the set fighting from there. So yeah, that's a like very easy quality of life, like 45-degree straight bend. And like this is perfect if you want to do like octagons, for example, to always have something like this on hand. But yeah, this is a very simple thing, and remember, always have your mirrored version of it. So you don't just make one of these, you always make two when you're making these kinds of things. And in the next, on the next blueprint, what we're looking at here is a logistics floor. So when we build factories and stuff, when we build vertically, or if it's just one massive platform, it doesn't really matter. My recommendation is always to have a dedicated floor for all the conveyor belts and pipes and moving resources around, and then you pull them up. So this is where you actually build your machines. And an easy way to make sure that you have uniform, your logistics floors are always the same height, so that it always matches with blueprints that you're making and stuff like that, is to make a blueprint of that height on your platforms, similar to this one, like the platform blueprint. You just make it with that spacing in mind, because when you then place down the blueprint, like when you go and you grab the blueprint and you go like, hey, I'm going to place this down, then it will go, you see the white bounding box, that box will go all the way down. It's like because of this. You just remove these. So you basically place the blueprint and then you go into dismantle mode and you remove these. And an easy way of hitting this and nothing else is aim at them, press G, and the foundation filter or a dismantle filter goes in and it picks the foundation 4 meter. So that you will only, you can't, like if I hold control and try to mark all of them, it doesn't work. Like this won't happen. You won't accidentally remove anything, but these, press G, and then you just get rid of all of them for your factory's logistics floor. So that's my tip for that bit. You might want to, like if you want to, you can incorporate like permanent designs to this. In your factory, you might want to like, okay, here's the center. I'm just gonna place like a small metal pillar, and I go like so. Like you might want to do this, so you have a permanent thing in the middle, so that you always have a like that. This is a design feature for that spacing. My preferred spacing in the logistics floors are 2 4-meter foundations, so an 8-meter gap in between for all my logistics floor. You can do a similar thing with the walls. That is your standard logistics space for like vertical construction, like for moving resources up and down, not moving them horizontally. So yeah, that's a like great thing to make, and like having 5, 10, 15 different versions of this is fine. Just remember that if you are planning your factories or other blueprints that rely on a specific spacing, to not change the height. Don't add a foundation or remove, like go down one foundation, like 1 meter, because that will mess up everything in all your other blueprints that we're getting to later. So this is a great quality of life thing that I always have on hand when I'm not playing with like infinite soup and stuff like that, which I won't be in 1.0, And we don't know when mods become available. We don't know if that's gonna take a week or if that's gonna take like a month. We don't know how much is gonna change and how much needs to be fixed before they are available. So for those who wants to play with mods like Infinite Zoop and stuff like that to make this easy, go right ahead. Alright, we are back with number, what is this, number 6? Yep, number 6. And this is the curve, like soft curve 90-degree bend. And here's a fun thing with this. It doesn't use full foundations other than here on the end. For the rest, it's half foundations. And the way that you make this blueprint is very, very simple. You use the catwalk crossings, because most of the time when you're working with catwalks making curves, that's wrong. I'm just being a fuddy-duddy right now. So there, normally when you do this, you place for the full foundation. So you basically place down your first catwalk crossing where you want the curve to start, and then when you snap the second one on, you hold Control and you do one step to where you wanna like run the curve to. Like only one jump, don't do more than one, and then click, and then you go once again. But if you move using full foundations, you need to place 2 and then do the curve. Like so. And then you get a softer curve. However, if you want to have a short 90-degree curve instead, what you do is you grab this and you place 1 and you click 1 and you click 1 and you go with only one step. But instead of using the... Boom. There we go. Instead of using the full foundation, you go in and pick this, the half meter or half foundation, and then you snap that to each section like so. And it also, like, this is a fun part, it creates a very interesting pattern so that when you're done and you remove these and you look on the outside, we got a lot of set fighting in there. But if you look on the outside, you get this like very, very nice like overlap, like almost like a ridge made by the concrete. So you also get this very nice visual pattern. And if you want to have like on the inside, you can also see that there is like a slight curve or a slight edge in some places here. But if you want to have a very, very short 90-degree bend like this, that is soft, not a hard 90-degree bend, then this is how you do it. And remember, just like with these, you need to have one mirrored to make the to be able to go the other direction. You can't just turn them and that's gonna work. It's gonna mess up. So make sure to have the mirrored version of this, just like the other. And moving on, we're gonna grab this one in the same cut here because it's very like similar. What we're looking at here is the soft bend. So this is a 90-degree bend, and this is like a half of a 45-degree bend. Better, and you might want to have like the start. So let's go like which one was it? Is it blueprint number 3? Like you might want to start it like so, and then use number 4. And this is also why it needs to be mirrored, right? And then from here, you see this gap here. If you press H, actually react, thank you. There. You get that perfect overlap. Right. And place it again. You get a nice, like, this is basically how I try to use them. Like, it's the best way I can describe it. So, there you have a actual curve. When you see that this is not, like, connecting up, you can see that this is one long straight line. The way that I do this is, let's remove this whole thing, go in here, there we go, is by removing that one section and then letting it overlap like so. There we go. And you have a nice long, soft 45-degree bend. Something you can also very easily do is like screw the blueprints and just place these out and just place your foundations along this. That works just as fine. For me, like, I tend to do that because I'm used to it. I'm going to go into, like, I have a few of these are more like not the actual blueprint as I would make it or as you would make it. It's more like explaining the concept of it. So let's go into the next one. So this is the next one. What we're looking at here is more like the concept. This is not the actual blueprint as you would use it, but there's a few things here, like these are blueprints you should be making. And these are for different conveyor buses. And like I said, I'm using Mark III belts over here because like that's around the time when you unlock this. You should have Mark III belts because they use steel beams, and steel beams are used to build this, like the blueprint designer, so duh. Unless that changes for 1.0, we don't know. However, when playing, one of the big time sinks that you have is that you need to place tons and tons and tons of conveyors. And if you're just running a single like conveyor line going like, no, I just need one belt here, it's fine. And then that's one thing. But if you're running like 50 belts like this with like, you should have a conveyor bus like this that has like all the belts like stacked like this, so that you have them next to each other or like whatever, based on like the foundation, like because you need to place these on foundations. The way that you make these is you don't place foundations in the blueprint, you place them like so, because then what you do is you can place them on any surface and you basically look at what you're going to move and or how much you're going to move, and you plan your buses after that, and you make these blueprints that you can then easily place down instead of having to like mess around with making this setup over and over and over and over again. You can take this and then if you need to like double that up, like make a new blueprint that has this and just place another one just next to it and save that blueprint and have twice the bus capacity without having to manually place every single belt, because this is going to be your big time drain. Like no matter what you try to do, placing belts and like lift systems and all that kind of stuff is going to be your absolutely biggest time drain. So make all the buses, make the turns like buses with turns, and once again go both directions, left and right with this. Same thing, if you know that you are going to like make crossings or junctions, create stuff like this where the bus can go over and so that you can place a like normal floor level bus like this underneath that crosses. Like super important that you have that ability. I'm not joking when I'm saying that a build that would normally take like 50 hours could probably take like 20 instead if you just have these blueprints. And the same thing goes for like lift systems. Like if you know that, okay, I normally place X amount of belts and I place with this frequency or whatever, with this spacing, make your lifts already for it. And this is especially important if you have stuff like belts and stuff that needs to cross roads or railroads or stuff like that. Have belt and lift buses that go like this. You don't need to have the belts in like this necessarily, but have this section prepped. It's going to save so much time, and you know that everything will always be at the perfect height. And something to keep in mind, and I'm gonna reiterate this until it is in everyone's consciousness. When you place one of these, it's going to be like the double height, like on average. Like you can see, that mid belt is not going to be at that level. It's going to have the lower belt and the higher belt on like this. And here's the fun thing. One of these, the stackable conveyor pole, is 2 meters. So it's from the floor, and then 1 meter up, and then 2 meters. That's where the second belt is, or the belt on that conveyor pole is. And then it's going to be another 2 meters, like 1, 2 meters, and then you get this. However, these move in 1 meter increments. So if you go like this and you lift, that's 1 meter, 2 meters, 3 meters. Most things in the game move by 1 meter increments. So if you take this and you move it, it's 1, 2, 3, 4 meters. So unless you didn't know, a full foundation is 8 by 8 meters. Here's the fun thing, and here's the trick. You can go for a shorter system. If I make a belt here that feeds in this direction and one belt that feeds in this direction, and I want my conveyor lifts to snap to each other, and I start here, I go down, and it will try and snap to the bottom belt, like so. So you can get like super compact belts. It's a little bit of a cheesy way of using it, but like it looks kind of cool, and you have a very, very short belt, but you need, or lift, but you need to have them snap into each other like so. Once it's placed, you can easily, because there's a gap here now, right? Once you have that, you can very easily go in and then replace and get this, like the full section here. So you can go so that it looks nice, like so. So you can go lower than this like 2 meter jump, or like from 1 meter up to 6 meters. So you can like overcome that by using the snapping. The lifts also snap to machines, input and output holes, and splitters and mergers, input and output holes. But yeah, make blueprints out of all of this so that you always have them on hand. Don't just start running belts. Stop, pause for 10 minutes, make the bus, and then you're gonna save so much time. So let's move on to the next step. Alright, so something that you will place in pretty much every single factory, sometimes multiple times, is a overflow system that syncs the overflow. And what it connects to is a smart splitter. So by setting up this setting where you have overflow going to your left or to the right, depending on how you set this up, my recommendation is have multiple variants of pretty much all of these blueprints so that you have for different situations. And if you know which situations you're going to run into, it's easy to pre-make them. More so for new players, always have Blueprint Designer handy when you're building a factory, and instead of just looking at a problem and going like, hey, I can solve that problem here, go and solve the problem in the Blueprint Designer, if possible. If it's too large, it's too large, but if you can fit it in a 4x4x4, go solve it in the Blueprint Designer, save that solution. And this is a great way of not having to think about what's it called? Like the storage and syncing of your finished resources. And something that I also always do when it comes to this stuff, just like with what I said about the conveyors, is don't place them on foundations in a blueprint. This gives you the luxury of placing all of your floors in and then placing this in on top of it wherever you want it to fit. It's a small convenience that for some people is extremely important in saving some mental energy. So yeah. And then we go on to the next blueprint. The next blueprint here is, once again, we're looking at like more of a concept rather than like an actual blueprint, though you might want to have this as one of them. We're looking at load balancers. Load balancers and priority systems. So this is a normal splitter, and when you send something in here, it's going to split everything 50-50. So if you have a miner that is processing and getting 120 like iron ore, and you want to make that into iron ingots in smelters, if we go into this, you can see that it's an even 1-to-1 30 per minute to 30 per minute ratio. So for that to be effective, or rather for you to feed all machines equally, if you have 120 ore being mined, a very simple way of setting that up is just split 50-50, then I have 60 on this, 60 on this, and then split it again, you have 30, 30, 30, 30. And that means that instead of having a manifold where everything is just on a single line, like over here, like a single line being feeding it like this, then this is perfect. And you can also do, because it takes time for these to fill up and function, and the last one in the line will always be a little bit iffy on whether or not it actually is effective, like fully effective. At least not until you have run it for like 45 minutes. So an easy way of fixing that is simply by making a load balancer. And if you want to use manifolds, sometimes you can just go like, okay, now I'm gonna use the manifolds, but I'm gonna set them up like this instead, where the manifold is going into two like smaller manifolds, that those two manifolds are still going to be adjusting simultaneously, so that's still gonna be a little bit faster. But anytime you make a new load balancer, this is how you can set that up. An easy way of also setting up the load balancers is by, or an easy way of also fixing a lot of problems in your factories, is by saving not just all your load balancers, but also if you have like belt priority systems or like staggered supplementary lines and stuff like that. Save the like standardized systems that you're using everywhere. It's going to save you so much time, especially with load balancers, because the biggest like downside with load balancers is specifically that you have so much time to set one up. So if you can make them in the blueprint designer and then just save it, so you can like literally one click, I have my load balancer, and you can have like, it's going to be a 60-40 split like in the end, or a what would that be, like the 66.6 recurring to 33.3 recurring. Like that way you can do those things. Like for that system, it would look like let me just fix that here, so I can show you guys a very simple way of making that. So if you have this system, now we are splitting into two, so it's 50-50. But if I want a 66.6 recurring load balancer, that and a 33.3 recurring load balancer, what I would do is go, let's see here, I would actually split it into three. So what I get now is a 33 splits, 33.3 recurring, 33.3 recurring, and 33.3 recurring. But then I take this split over here, and I go in and I grab a merger, and over, what would that be? Over here, I go and I merge these two lines, right there. Now I am splitting, so I get 66.6 recurring, or 2/3 1/3. Which means that you can make like save this system. Just make sure that you have like this one might then also need to split. So you have a 50-50 split over here, right? Like this, and the more you build, the larger the factories become, and the more complex the input and outputs, and the weirder the numbers get. The more important it is to have these pre-made. And if you start saving these early on in the game, you very quickly learn that you will have them and they will work for you very late in the game as well. So that's a great thing to save up all of your load balancers and belt priority systems. Priority systems being like, instead of splitting things evenly, you want to prioritize one belt being fed so that it is full, and then you move on to the next belt and the next belt and the next belt and so on. So yeah, that's the priority systems. But basically, they take a lot of time to set up. So save them, save all of them, because you're going to need them again at some point, and especially if you try like start a new save or something, save them. Yeah, so what we have here is a template for smelters. And my advice is make this with 1, with 2, with 3, with 4, and then with 5. And one of the main reasons for that is that it is so convenient when you can go like this, and just instead of having to go the full, okay, I just need to place in all the belts here, just give me a second before this is done, I need to go and fix all of this stuff before this functions, and I need to connect up the power here. Okay, now I got the power. Done. This was for 1. Now imagine just going click, and there's 5 of them. Okay? That's what you need these for. And that means that in like 4 clicks, like how many clicks did it take? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 clicks. In those same 14 clicks, using this blueprints, or using this specific blueprints, I would be able to place 70 splitter or 70 smelters, and all I would need to do is connect up power, and if I need to connect up like belts, I can do that as well. That is it. And then the recipes here aren't set. So what you can do as well, if you know that you're going to be using a lot of it, you can set the recipes as well, like call this the iron times 5 or something like that, or iron ingot times 5 smelter or something, something that just helps you along the way. But you can very easily just go in and click, and then press Control Copy, like Control C and Control V, and just run along. And now all of them are iron, like after you've placed them. And we're going to move into the next blueprint on the same cut here. And this is the same, not with the 5th one that I placed here, but this is the same. It is just leveraging. Sorry, an alarm on my phone just started ringing there. So okay, if we look at the actual configuration, it is identical to the setup over here, but it leverages the logistics floor over there. So what you can do, and this is like a really fun one. Now, as you can see, we have this on foundations, right? But what we can do is go in like this and remove all the foundations. What we keep the rest. So what happens now is we have a logistics prepared, or logistics floors prepared blueprint, but it doesn't have any foundations, which means that you can put this pretty much wherever you want and just drag in whatever foundations you want. For the vanilla way, so I would just go in here and place it, and before I always place any blueprint, I go press H, double check, is it aligned? Yes, it is aligned. It is aligned there, everything is in position. Let's click so that it is placed. Boom. This is how I would do it, but that requires you to have placed the logistics store underneath. So yeah, and this is just concept, remember. This is for smelters. You can use this same thing for all of this, except the particle accelerator, I think. Yeah, it's a little bit too big. But everything else, you can pretty much do this with to make sure that you can place down all of your machines without having to fiddle with this stuff. All you gotta do is connect up the logistics, and if you're running any longer lines, remember, use those blueprints. Okay, so with that in mind, let's move on to our next blueprint. Alright, so the next blueprint we're looking at, in this case I have chosen to go with like making biomass and making that into biofuel, or solid biofuel. What this represents is the concept of a small production line, with the full production line being in the entire blueprint. This is what you normally call a one-click factory, but you can also make this for smaller stuff. So, for example, you realize that, hey, I need to place in make 100 extra iron plates in this new reinforced frame factory that I'm making, or whatever it is. Having the iron plates production line already set up and then saved as a blueprint, so that you can just place it wherever you want to, either as one of these or as one of these, doesn't really matter. But having a production line set up that goes from, like, now I'm using iron plates, but technically, you could make this. I think the most advanced thing I've seen is people are making like fused modular frames in a one-click factory, like they fit it within this space. In my opinion, a one-click factory is only useful very early on in the game, or in a way that or a production line that actually supplements a larger factory you're building. You don't have to create a new iron production line from scratch every single time. Especially if you've played the game a few times, you start getting sick of making the early game stuff the same way over and over and over again. So removing that step by just being able to place new production lines, full production lines that are set with this. Imagine okay, I need a ton of this. Let's just go okay, let's go hard. We need all the biomass. This overclocking also gets saved. So this is a production line. Make blueprints for your production lines and make them standardize, fit, just like everything else, within what you are doing, so that it has, so that you don't have to so you don't create more problems for yourself by using it, right? But yeah, have this 100%. Next up, we're looking at a little bit more logistics stuff. Here we go, and this is a truck stop over here, or truck station. And I tried to make a little bit of an aesthetically, this is more like a representation or mock-up of other stuff. But what I'm alluding to here is having a standardized truck station blueprint that this works for my aesthetics. I like having this kind of wall. I like having these colors, I like having these shapes, all that stuff. You can even go, okay, I'm gonna place in, because I know the crane is gonna be moving here, so I'm gonna have this hole over here. It might not be centered, but you can make it like so, and have your walls like so. and just have this truck stop. Like, not necessarily the road is the mock-up, but like having your truck stops, drone stops, and in some cases like your train stations, those need to be most of the time like sectioned though, because you're gonna be able to fit like the actual station and one freight platform, and then you're out of space. So you need to make like different, like multiple modular blueprints for railway stuff. But yeah, like when you're dealing with truck stations, 100% have your truck stations standardized in terms of like aesthetics and everything, and save those, because it's going to be so much more easy for you to put up interfactory logistics by just clicking a blueprint down. Like, you place down a few foundations and you smack down your truck station on it, going like, boom, okay, we're there, we are now doing this, very easy, and I can just set up the truck and blah blah blah, and it's going to be fed, like all that stuff. That is the point of this. So yeah, truck stations, and if you can fit it with your designs and stuff, drone stations. So yeah, keep going with that. And that's it for this. It's gonna be very quick. We're moving to the next one, which is over here. And we start this one out in photo mode because we are looking at aesthetic blueprints. When you are building a lot of machines and stuff like that, sometimes, and this is something that has very recently started popping up for me as a desire, is that instead of just like smashing all my machines together in a big like row or a big field of machines, is I kind of want to do this and like section them up so there's more space in between each machine, but I make each machine look better and have more like utility to it and stuff like that. And if you look in my beginner series, if you go look at the episodes where I am building the computer factory, the Western factory in the series, you will see that that's what I have done with the refineries and stuff in there. There are long corridors of very aesthetically designed stuff. And this is kind of a representation of that, where I have mocked up a coal generator and put in some nice like signs, some road barriers, pillars. I've put in these painted beams. There's more signs for lighting. If you're gonna want to play with Lumen, this is super important, because this is super time consuming to do manually every single time you build something. So having like this built into like an aesthetic design, where like I can now take this and I can save that, and if I do save blueprint, I'm just gonna go like this and go to Zoop and place a bit of a platform here and just show how like this would look if I were to place it in. So I'm going to go build mode blueprint so they snap to each other, and I just okay, they snap that close to each other. Okay, so what I do is I just go like this, and what I get is perfectly spaced, very nice, or like definitely not my best work, but I just wanted to mock something up so that there was an actual sense of it. Like instead, it's this, which looks a lot more interesting to me than just like having, if I place on the other end of this and I go like so, and I just go, yeah, like this gets boring after a few hundred hours, let me tell you. So something to do there is doing this. I don't know about you guys, but this looks way better to me. And even better if we go like this and we move closer to evening, and let's go into options, video, and go to global illumination, and we set this to high. Boom. Now what we get in here and what we can design here is this part. So I can go in here now and I can increase the light level so that we get more light. I can then take and copy this so that it looks a bit brighter and happier around here. And have, if I then have a wall come up like, where are the walls? Top there. Let's block off some of the afternoon sun. Here we go. Now, as you can see, if I go into photo mode here, that we get a little bit more of an aesthetic look to the whole thing, with a little bit more like living lights. This part is really, really nice. And that's my point with, like, take the time, and here's the fun part. If you save this in a blueprint, it means you don't have to, like, constantly build the same details over and over and over and over again. You spent 20 minutes, 30 minutes, like, I swear, this only took me like 6 minutes to build. 6 or 7 minutes. Like, yeah, sure, I have like north of like 1,000 hours in the game, but it doesn't take long until you get comfortable enough with the build mechanics that making something like this in the Blueprint Designer to save and then use later becomes incredibly easy at any given time. There. Now we get the full Lumen experience. Very nice. Let's move on to our final blueprint. We are back with the final blueprint, and this time it's also a concept blueprint, and I'm talking about your exterior designs, interior detailing, and modularity in your visual design. So in this case, I just made a random entrance to a factory here, and of course, as you can read on the sign, this is a factory where only BAMFs are allowed. And so yeah, you have this very, very nice entrance, and I can basically take this and place in anywhere. And I've spent the extra time and energy it takes to like get weird unaligned like walls in with the pillars aligned properly, and I wanted to have this staggered effect here with these beams and stuff like that. I spent time picking out like color schemes and everything. So, and then like ceiling skylight, that's the name, and like that kind of stuff. So I can take this and I can like smack that in anywhere I want, and I'm gonna have like here's an entrance, and I can make like 10 of these. I can like very easily spend a lot of time detailing, and that work will not just be in one place. I can then use that as a way of standardizing the style, or having like a uniform style in my world. So it like some people, myself included, kind of like go, okay, build factory number 1, I want one style. Then I can plan that style out and make that in Blueprint Designer, and then for factory number 2, I want a different style. Then I can go and plan that out in the designer and then save that and make sure that I have the walls, lamps, catwalks, entrances, yeah, all that stuff. Specifically with all the detailing included, you can make that. You can have that. Here you go. Have fun. This is so important once you get to the point where just making things function is so easy that the only way that you feel like you can improve is by making things look better. And this is kind of that. And this is a great way of practicing and feeling like, okay, I don't need to do this 10 times, I just need to do it once, and then I can just click it in the blueprint, click down a blueprint, and I got that 100 times. So yeah, and then if we go in here, you can see yeah, so the message is pretty clear, I would say. If you enjoyed this episode and you like what you've seen here, I would say press like and leave a comment with any questions, any feedback that you have on this. I know that specifically the soft 45-degree curve is, like, I did not explain that necessarily very well, and that's because it is a quite complex curve to nail down using blueprints. You kind of have to fiddle a bit with it, but everything else here is quite easy to get started with. If you're a new player, you should definitely mess around with all this stuff and figure out the blueprint designer. It is going to make your life so much easier once you start realizing the modularity of all of these. And it's going to be great for you when you realize that, hey, it's okay for me to place down 400, 500 machines in this factory, because you know what? I have blueprints for all of them. So I just need to click 15, 20 times instead of like 400 times. And that is a great way of getting to enjoy the game and not feeling like it is a chore to progress. With that said, I hope you enjoyed this, I hope you learned something from it, and I hope you're inspired for 1.0. I know I am. I am so close to hitting 500 subscribers, and we will be streaming on September 10th, and I really hope to see you there. And I hope to see you in the Discord, where we chat Satisfactory and other stuff. And I would love to have more people in there so that we can chat even more. So I will see you in the next video or in the stream, and have a good day. Bye!